Welcome to the High Ticket E-commerce YouTube course. This is going to be video 1 on business setup. So this is everything administratively and logistically that you can have your business completely set up and all administrative headaches looked after from the get-go. So down the line, as suppliers, as you need certain documents and resources, you'll have this all looked after from the get-go to minimize your headaches down the line. We will jump right into video 1, setting up your business. Module 1, setting up your business. The first thing we need to discuss is where can you run this business model from? You can run this business model from anywhere in the world. So there's 3 situations that we want to discuss. You either going to be from the US and you want to start a business in the US. That's one. That's very easy. You might be outside of the US and you can run your business in the US. Also possible, you can be anywhere in the world and start a business in the US and run your business there. And thirdly, you would be from Canada and running your business in the US. So there's a specific situation which we're going to discuss in a minute why I separated Canada out from everywhere else. Nothing in this video is tax or legal advice, by the way, just what I have found in my experience. If you're in the US and you're running this business in the US, it's very easy. You just file your corporation in the US. I recommend doing it in Delaware or Wyoming for tax reasons, even if you are not from those 2 states. If you are anywhere else in the world and you are incorporating in the US and running your business in the US, I also recommend you pick one of these 2 states for tax reasons. Delaware does not have any sales tax. Wyoming has very, very minor sales tax. I think it's like 5% or something like that. Now, if you are from Canada, you can actually incorporate your business in Canada and sell in the US. And the reason for that is there's a tax treaty between the US and Canada. If you live in Italy and you have an Italian company and you run it in the US, you'll be taxed in the US and you'll be taxed in Italy. So you'll be double taxed. That is why it would make sense to set up a business in the US and run it out there. So you only get taxed once. But if you're from Canada, because of the free tax agreement, you will only get taxed on your Canadian income and you will not be taxed in the US. So you do not get double taxed if you have a Canadian corporation running a business in the US. But that is a one-off situation. So if you're from Canada, you can incorporate in Canada and run your business from there and sell in the US. But if you're from anywhere else in the world or the US, I recommend actually incorporating in the US. So when you are filing your corporation, you can do everything yourself through the government. It can be a bit complicated to do it on your own. So I recommend if you're from the US, and I have a sheet here that has all the resources linked, so you can actually just check this off, the action status items as well as the resources where you'll need to go. And the students in my program have found it easiest to use this service called Zen Business. Essentially just put your name here. It's like, I don't think it's very expensive. You can file your corporation. If you're from Canada, I recommend you use Law Depot. Also very, very easy. Simple to set up. You can run this business anywhere in the world. So if you're from Australia, you can run an Australian store with an Australian company. You can run this business model in Europe. You can run this business model anywhere in the world where there are suppliers who will work with you and allow you to sell your stuff in that place. So it's not just restricted to the US by any means. If you're incorporating a company in Australia, then you'll just simply type in Australia Incorporation Service or German Incorporation Filing Service and just pick the one that has the best reviews and looks like the cheapest, easiest to work with. So that's essentially your business setup. You can either incorporate in the US, incorporate wherever you are. You're going to need a corporation for sure. And you can use incorporation filing service to make this process easy. So doing business as is the difference between a corporate name and a DBA name. So imagine I have a corporation named BH Stores Inc. There can be multiple stores within my corporation. And let's say I have a store named Massage Chairs Online. Massage Chairs Online would be my doing business as name because it's my store name, while my corporate name is BH Stores Inc. So a DBA is important because some states will require you to file your doing business as. So if my company is called BH Stores Inc., some states may require me to have my store filed as well under my doing business as Massage Chairs Online. So what you need to do is simply type in, do I need a DBA in whatever state? So let's say, for example, I am incorporated in Texas. I would type in, does Texas need a doing business as? And as you can see here, all Texas doing business under a name other than its legal name must file a DBA. So then you know. Unless your corporate name was Massage Chairs Online, then you wouldn't need to. But other than that, then you would need to. So then you type in, how do I file a DBA in Texas? Texas DBA in less than 10 minutes. So very simple. But first you need to figure out, 1, do you need a DBA? And if you do, you need to file it. That's on the DBA point. EIN is your employer identification number. So this is essentially your social insurance number, but for your business. And it's very important because all your suppliers will require it, and you actually need an EIN for your company to run business in the US. So again, there's multiple situations where you would need this. So if you are a US citizen and you have a US company, you simply go here. Very easy. Apply for employment identification number online. If you are an international citizen with a US company, it can be more complicated. So I recommend you actually incorporate, if you're not from the US and you're running the business in the US with a US company, I recommend you incorporate your business in Wyoming because it will be much easier. So in Wyoming EIN service. And the reason for it is this guy here, Wyoming LLC attorney, will give it to you very, very quickly. Other people who have incorporated in Delaware have had a much longer wait, which is why I recommend doing Wyoming from my experience with the students in the program. If you are a Canadian with a Canadian business and you're selling in the US, so if you're from Australia and you're running your business in Australia, you don't need an EIN. EIN is for the US. So if you're a Canadian business and you're only selling in Canada, you also wouldn't need this. But if you have a Canadian business and you're selling in the United States, or you have an Australian business and you're selling in the United States, whatever it is, if you have an international corporation and you're selling in the US, you'll use this. Apply by telephone international applicants, and this is like a 5-minute phone call and they'll give it to you right away. So what we've covered so far is we have our incorporation, we have our DBA potentially if we need it, and we have filed for our EIN. A resale certificate is essentially when you have to charge sales tax in a specific state. So there's two situations where you will need to charge sales tax. Number one is a physical nexus. That means you have a physical presence in that state. So if you have employees there, if you have a warehouse there, if you live there, then you will have established the physical nexus requirement. I am from Canada. I do not have a physical nexus to any US states. The other way that this can be required is if you have an economic nexus. In most states, an economic nexus is established by having $100,000 in sales in the previous 12 months in that one state. So if you establish that threshold, there are some that are higher. So California is $500,000 in the previous 12 months. But as soon as you establish that threshold, you need to file and charge sales tax in that state. So you have a physical nexus, which is a physical presence, or an economic nexus, which is established by your sales volume in that state. So very easy to get. You would simply type in, I've attached this resource here, which actually has all of the thresholds for sales tax by state. So as you see, most of them are, so this one's actually 250,000, Alaska's 100, most of them are 100, or it can also be established by transactions. So 200 transactions, but since we're selling high ticket items that are multiple thousands of dollars, it's almost always the sales one that will be hit first. California's 500, Colorado's 100, you see. So once you actually establish it, you would simply type in, or actually this thing actually has it, register for tax permit, right here, on the hyperlink. So you can go in, and once you establish the nexus requirement, either physical or economic, you would then register for your sales tax permit. You'd have to charge sales tax on Shopify in that state, which is very easy to set up through your settings. So your phone number. So it's very important that you have a business phone number. You do not use your personal phone number. So the reason for this is you will go crazy if you mix them. So you want to have your business life and your personal life separate. So I recommend using OpenPhone. It's very, very good. You can set hours. So it's an app on your cell phone. So you'll still get calls on your cell phone, but you can put business hours. So you only get calls during these times. Everything's in one place. You don't have it like intermingled with calls with your family and stuff. It's all just through this app, which makes it very easy and convenient because you can actually separate things. Down the line, I recommend starting with OpenPhone. It's cheap. It's very easy to set up. Down the line, if you want something more advanced, once you have a customer service team, I recommend switching to something like AirCall, where you have an advanced analytics dashboard. You can see like what was the average ring time, what were the percentage of calls answered during business hours. You can listen to recordings. You can even be a coach. So if a customer service agent is on a call, you can go on the call and the customer can't hear you, but you can coach your team member. So they have all sorts of cool features, but I wouldn't recommend you need it right away. Down the line at some point, once you have a team and a bunch of people answering calls for you, at that point, I would recommend looking into AirCall. Again, I've linked everything here so you have access to both of those. Your virtual address. So this will vary depending on your business setup, but if you're a Canadian or an Australian company or Canadian company you're selling in the US, I recommend you get a US virtual address, because oftentimes when you call suppliers and you give them a Canadian address, they'll think that you're selling in Canada and they'll be like, oh, we only work with people selling in the US. So you just want to have a US address that you can just give them instead, that they'll think you're selling in the US, which you are. And you also want to have this address on the footer of your store so customers don't get confused as well. So if a customer's in Texas and they're buying a product and they look at your address in the footer of your store and see Canada, they're going to be confused and it's going to affect your conversion rate. So you want to have a US address to put on your store. If you're US, the reason why you would need this is maybe you don't want to put your home address. Most people in corporate address is their home. So if you don't want your home on your store where customers can look it up, then just use your virtual address instead. So business bank account, again, you want to separate your personal and your business life. For accounting purposes, you need a business bank account to keep everything separate, what your business expenses and your personal expenses. I recommend using Wise. It's extremely easy to set up within 24 hours. And you have these things called jars where you can like subdivide different, you can essentially create unlimited bank accounts within your one account to separate expenses and things like this. It's very convenient. Revolut is good for Europe, I know, but it's really up to you. You can use a brick and mortar bank if you choose, but in my experience, Wise is the best, especially if you're an international company. So if you're Canadian and you're selling in the US and you're selling in US dollars, Wise will have the lowest exchange rate. I think it's like 0.5% versus traditional banks like 2.5, 2.6 or something like that. So you save a lot on exchange rate using Wise. Very easy to set up. And if you're anywhere in the world, you get a Wise card and it will automatically, if you're in Europe or if you're in Australia, it will charge the local currency and automatically exchange your money at the lowest rate. So it's very good for travel. If you're traveling, you can spend your money in any currency at a very low exchange rate. Revolut is similar, except I think it's mainly people in Europe who are using Revolut. And Airwallex is another good one. Once you get your business bank account set up, you want to have a business credit card. So again, this is to put your orders on. You want to keep your personal and your business life separate. So you want to have your personal credit card for your personal expenses and business for your business expenses. In the United States, Amex is great. I recommend you get both the gold and the platinum. And the reason for this is the gold is very good for advertising. When you run ads on the gold, I think you get 4% cash back on Google and Facebook, which is insane. So if you're spending $100,000 a month on ads, eventually you'll get $4,000 of that back, just because you put your advertising on your Amex Gold. Amex Platinum is much better for travel. So if you're a traveler, I recommend Platinum, and that's for putting orders on. So you'd have both. You'd have your advertising accounts hooked up to your Amex Gold and all your orders going on your Amex Platinum. I know Chase also has a very good card. I don't know the details. And I know Capital One has the best cashback. So I think there's 2% cashback on everything. So all your orders, everything like that. That would be better than Amex Platinum if you want cashback instead of travel. In Canada, the biggest thing is a no Forex fee option. So if you have an Amex Platinum in Canada, you'll get dinged 2.7% for any orders placed in US dollars, which all your suppliers, if you're selling in the US, will charge you in US dollars. The nice thing about Amex is there's no limit. So it's a charge card. It will learn with your business. So if you spend $20,000 this month and then 50 next month and then 100, it will grow with your business without a preset limit, which is very nice, as long as you're paying your bills on time. The two that have no Forex fees are Scotiabank Visa Infinite and RBC Royal Gold. The downside of these is they usually will cap you at like $25,000 and will not raise your limit for years. So what I'd recommend is if you're in Canada, get both. Get one of these and use it as much as you can. But if you get $30,000 in orders in a day and you have any limit left to put the orders on your card, then you can use your Amex as backup. You can also eventually use one called Jeeves, which will give you a bigger limit sooner, but I believe they require a year or two of banking history before actually giving you that limit. So something to look into down the line. And if you're elsewhere, just type in best business credit card or no Forex fee credit card in whatever country it is you're from. Lastly, you will get a card on Wise, like I said, but it's not a credit card, it's a preload card. At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world because Shopify usually pays you out very quick. So let's say I go to your store, I order something today, you'll get my money in the next 2 days, like today or tomorrow, at which point you would just put it in, it would go into your Wise account and then you could pay your supplier right from your Wise card. It might delay shipping by a day. So if you use an Amex, as soon as you got the order, you could submit it to the supplier right away and then they could ship it. But worst case scenario, you have to wait a day or two to get your money from Shopify. You can put it on here and then pay the supplier and you keep the difference, the margin, obviously. Lastly, we have cash flow tracking. So I've attached this sheet in the doc, but essentially this is a way to do your accounting. So you're gonna have your order. So if let's say order 1,000 comes in, you can put the supplier, you can put the revenue. So let's say it generated 10K in revenue. Cost of goods sold, say 7,000, shipping 500, merchant fees is usually 2.7%. So then invoice status means have you paid the supplier? And then you can see your profit and your net margin. And then automatically this will go in your P&L with your revenue, everything like this here. And then if you have expenses, so let's say you buy merchant, so Apple, I bought a new laptop for $5,000. Date, you'll put expense type, you can load it to other, and then you can put like office or like office. And then you can actually create a Google Drive and put your receipts in there and hyperlink it. And then essentially this will automatically populate in your expense thing here. You can do meals and travel. This is all set up for you to do that automatically. Just to make your accounting life very easy, just go to this, press file, make a copy, and you can do all your accounting in there. and it will actually, in any orders you get, you'll hook them up there as well. So just make your life very easy, and just make sure you're tracking when you have paid for orders for your suppliers, because different suppliers some will charge you right away as soon as you submit it. Others will wait until it's delivered, and others will just send you a bill down the line. So whatever the status is, just make sure you're tracking it. And lastly, profit first accounting methodology. So profit first is essentially a way for you to grow your business and scale healthily. So most people, they do is they get the revenue, they pay all their expenses, and then their profit's what's left over. What we do with profit first is you have your revenue, you take your profit, and then your expenses are what you have left to spend to grow your business. So you determine what you want to make in profit in advance, and then whatever's left over after that is what you have to scale. So you're not scaling too quickly. You're not getting your revenue and then pouring all your revenue back into the business before taking your profit, because then that is when you get into scaling problems and it's not healthy. Your business is growing too fast. So what you do is you determine what you want your profit to be first, and then you take that, put it in a different account, and then you have the rest, your expenses, to actually grow your business with. So it's a much healthier way to scale. I've linked in here a video of me actually explaining this, as well as all the other resources that we've discussed in this video. But thank you very much for watching Module 1 on business setup. I hope you took a lot from it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel below for all future modules that will be coming out in the coming weeks. If you're interested in booking a call and working directly with me on building your own high-ticket e-commerce store, I will link my Calendly link below that you can book a call with my team to see if you qualify. And that is all for this video, guys. Thank you very much for taking time out of your wonderful day to watch, and I will see you next week in Module 2. I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk soon.